I'm not a young woman anymore. I've lived through war, heartbreak, and the loss of loved ones. But nothing, and I mean nothing, has pierced me as deeply as what I did last year. It was a quiet Tuesday in late spring, the kind of day where the breeze carries memories with it, old songs, old smiles, and old regrets. I had just turned 86. My body was slower, yes, but my mind was sharp. Maybe too sharp, because with clarity often comes pain. Last year, around this time, I made a decision that felt small, almost insignificant. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't public. In fact, no one really knew. But that decision set off a chain reaction in my life that I still haven't fully recovered from. You see, I've always believed that with age comes peace, that the older you get, the more settled your soul becomes. But no one tells you that your heart still aches at 87. That regret doesn't care how many birthdays you've had. And that phone call didn't begin with, "Hi, Dad." It began with, "Why haven't you called me back?" In that moment, my heart sank. Not because I was being accused, but because I realized how much time had passed, how much silence had grown between us. Silence I had chosen. A weekend I had skipped. A conversation I never had. That one decision, born from pride, became my deepest regret. The choice I made had to do with family, specifically my daughter. She had invited me to her home for a weekend gathering. She said the grandkids were coming. She said it would mean a lot, but I said no. I told her I was tired. I told her I had other plans. But the truth? I was upset over something she had said a few weeks earlier. Something petty. Something that shouldn't have mattered. But my pride got the best of me. I stayed home. And that simple choice, not to go, became the stone that started an avalanche I never saw coming. At the time, I felt justified. I told myself, "She'll call again. She always does." I thought I was teaching her a lesson, but life has a way of turning lessons into losses. The next time she called was 4 months later. It wasn't some grand mistake. I didn't ruin anyone's life or burn any bridges in a dramatic way. No, it was something much quieter, and that's what makes it so painful. Last year, my daughter called and invited me to a weekend gathering at her home. "The kids want to see you, Mum," she said with such warmth in her voice. "We'll cook your favorite. Everyone will be there." I remember holding the phone, hearing the laughter of my grandchildren in the background, and yet, I said no. I told her I wasn't feeling well. I told her maybe next time. I even laughed and said, "Old bones need rest, sweetheart." But that wasn't the truth. The truth was, I was still upset. A few weeks earlier, she had said something that struck a nerve. We were having tea, and she casually said, "Mum, sometimes you make people feel like they're walking on eggshells." She didn't mean it cruelly. She was being honest, maybe even trying to help. But my heart, already fragile from years of trying to stay strong, took it as a wound. I let that one sentence sit in my chest like a stone. So when she invited me, I let my hurt speak louder than my love. I told myself I was too tired. I told myself she needed to learn a lesson, to realize that words have consequences. But now I see the real consequence was mine. Because that weekend came and went, and I wasn't there to hear the laughter. I wasn't in the kitchen with the smell of roast chicken and fresh bread. I wasn't on the porch watching my grandson tell jokes that made everyone cry with laughter. I chose silence over presence. I chose pride over people. At the time, I thought I was protecting myself. But what I really did was put up a wall, one that separated me from the very people I love the most. It was just one choice. One no. But it created a space I never meant to build. And it took away a moment I can never get back. Now I wonder, How many other moments have I lost for the same reason? At first, I convinced myself it wasn't a big deal. After all, I had said, maybe next time. I figured there would always be another weekend, another gathering, another chance to see them. I made tea that evening, sat in my usual chair, and told myself it was fine. I needed the rest. I deserved the quiet. But what I didn't realize was how deeply that one no would echo through the months to follow. Days passed, then weeks, and the phone stopped ringing as often. The messages came less frequently. My daughter, who used to call me just to chat while cooking dinner, became quieter. Not out of anger, no, it was something else. A softness, a kind of distance that only grows when hurt goes unspoken. She didn't bring it up. Neither did I. We both let silence take the place of words. And in that silence, I lost something far more precious than just time. I lost the feeling of being needed. I lost the sound of my grandchildren running to the phone to say, "Hi, Grandma," with sticky fingers and giggles in their voices. I lost the updates on school, the silly stories, the small frustrations she used to share with me when the kids had worn her out. I used to be part of her world. Now I was just on the edge of it. And one day, I found out, through a neighbor no less, that my youngest granddaughter had her very first piano recital. I hadn't been invited. Not because they didn't want me there, but because they assumed I wouldn't come, that I wouldn't be interested, that I had chosen distance. And perhaps I had. That one choice, born from pride and pain, quietly reshaped how my family saw me, not as someone to lean on, but someone to tiptoe around, someone fragile, closed off, someone who had, with a single word, no, stepped away from the center of their lives. I lost far more than a visit that weekend. I lost closeness. I lost trust. I lost a piece of my place in their everyday moments. And the ache of that loss? It's the kind that settles deep in your bones, the kind you feel when you sit alone in a quiet room and realize you can't go back. If I could go back to that day, the day I chose not to visit, I would have answered the phone differently. I would have smiled when I heard her voice, not let that old bitterness rise up like smoke from an old fire that should have been put out long ago. I would have said, "Of course, sweetheart, I'll be there." But time doesn't give us second chances. It gives us memories, and sometimes regret. I used to believe that with age came wisdom, but what they don't tell you is that wisdom often arrives carrying the weight of missed moments. It whispers in the quiet, reminding you of the things you didn't say, the hugs you didn't give, the laughter you missed because you were too hurt, too tired, or too proud. Looking back, I realize I wasn't just punishing her, I was protecting my heart. I had spent a lifetime being the strong one, the one who held everyone else together. But sometimes, in trying to be strong, we push people away. She didn't mean to hurt me with her words. I know that now. She was just speaking her truth in the only way she knew how. And I, in my silence, spoke my own truth, that I was still learning how to forgive, how to soften, how to let go. There's a certain pain that comes with watching time slip through your fingers. You start counting holidays you missed, birthdays you didn't call, grandchildren growing up in pictures instead of in your arms. And it's not just the events you miss, it's the connection, the conversations over tea, the silly stories, the small, sacred things that make up a life shared with people you love. If I could turn back time, I wouldn't change her, I would change me. I would trade my pride for presence. I would choose warmth over distance. I would say, "I love you," even when the words felt stuck. Because now, at 87, I know that love doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers, "Be there. Pick up the phone. Let go of being right and hold on to the ones who matter." If I could go back, I would. But I can't. All I can do now is share this story and hope that someone listening still has time to choose differently. I can't change what I did last year. I can't go back and say yes to that invitation. I can't be in those photos or in those memories I missed. But what I can do is tell you this: don't wait. Don't let pride sit in the seat where love should be. When we're younger, we think we'll have endless chances to say, "I'm sorry," to show up, to make things right. But time has a way of slipping through our fingers like sand. One moment you're needed, the next, you're missed, but no longer expected. If you've been holding back because you're hurt or tired or waiting for someone else to make the first move, I beg you, don't. Pick up the phone. Say, "I love you." Say, "I'm sorry if I hurt you." Say, "Can we try again?" You might be surprised by how quickly a heart can soften, how healing can begin with something as simple as showing up. I've lived through wars, loss, loneliness, and joy. I've buried friends and held great-grandchildren in my arms. But what I've learned more than anything is this: relationships are more fragile than we think, not because they break easily, but because we stop tending to them. And when they fade, it's not always loud. Sometimes they go quiet, slowly, softly, until one day you realize the distance is too wide, and you're standing on your side, holding all the things you wish you'd said. So let me leave you with this: if someone invites you, go. If someone speaks carelessly, forgive quickly. If someone still reaches out, answer with love. Because at 87, the things I treasure most aren't things at all. They're hugs, conversations, quiet moments on porches, laughter around dinner tables, hands held during hard times, and my biggest regret isn't what I did. It's what I didn't do when I had the chance. So if you're watching this and your heart is nudging you to reach out, to show up, to love without waiting for perfect timing, listen to it. You might just save yourself from your own version of my regret.